to keep them out.
We're going to be signing these books while we're talking.
Yes,
so look at that.
Can draw.
Oh, can you draw? I don't think anyone wants drawings on these, baby girl.
Oh, what a cheery way to start this Tuesday, live from New York City. It's Fox and Friends. Thank you very much. Brian, it's a very big day. We've got somebody special seated betwixt us.
Right. I mean, it's always exciting to drop a book, to have a book out, but to do it on your life, what is that like?
Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Because this is...
It's a great job. You did a great job.
Like a memoir. Aren't you supposed to be like 70 when you release your memoirs? But they approached me about doing a book on my faith, and I can't say no to that. How can you say no? It's like God saying you need to do this. You can't say no to that.
Right.
So I am very vulnerable in here, and so I'm a little nervous about that.
Right, but your dad's going to be here, and when your dad's
Dad
here.
will be here. Hayden will be here today. Steve, we had a signing in his neck of the woods, like 2 minutes from his house, and so that was last night. So thanks for those who came out for the book signing the night before.
And you're going to Bay Ridge, Brooklyn
Bay Ridge,
tonight?
Brooklyn tonight. That's at Bookshop at 7:30.
So the brand new Ainsley Earhart book, The Light Within Me, has published officially today. You can buy it everywhere.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much. Y'all are so sweet to support
And this will be the first book in the Ainsley Earhart Library, which should be open in your hometown. It'll be fantastic.
I definitely do not deserve a library. That's like
Soon.
presidential.
There you go. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us on this very busy Tuesday, and we're starting this hour with the Fox News Alert. Because the search is on for a motive, trying to figure out why a man intentionally sped through a crowd of people in Toronto, Canada, killing 10 people.
Investigators are not ruling out terrorism.
But what do they know? Molly Lyon is live in Toronto as major cities like New York City are now on high alert, Molly.
Good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian. We're standing just to the side of Yonge Street. This is where the incident unfolded. Police have blocked off the scene, and honestly, it goes on for several long blocks. They expect to be here for several days. As you mentioned, police have yet to share any sort of motive with the public at this point in time, but there is a man in custody. They believe that he is the man that rented that white rental van, driving it into a multitude of pedestrians. He's been identified as Alec Minasian, a 25-year-old from the Toronto suburb of Richmond Hill. 10 lives were claimed, at least 15 people injured. The brutal force of this large van leaving some dead at the scene, others fighting for their lives as they were rushed to hospitals to care for severe wounds.
He just went on the sidewalk. He just started hitting everybody, man. The bus stop, everything got shattered because a lot of people got hurt. I've seen a scene I've never seen in my life.
The van, with extensive front-end damage and bearing the logo for Ryder Truck Rentals, finally stopped, and video at the scene showed the driver waving his hands, an object at police officers. Soon that item was dropped, and that man was ultimately taken into custody. American leaders have expressed solidarity. Vice President Mike Pence tweeted, "POTUS and I are closely monitoring the attack on innocent people in Toronto this afternoon. We are with the Canadian people tonight as they grieve the loss of life and injured. The American people stand shoulder to shoulder with our neighbors in Canada." Meanwhile, back in New York, counterterrorism officers have been deployed out of an abundance of caution, but at this point in time, quote, there is no known nexus to New York City. Ralph Goodale, the Minister of Public Safety up here in Canada, said there's no known national security link. Based on the information they have at this time, the suspect is expected to be in court at about 10 a.m. this morning. Back to you.
All right.
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you. So, clearly it was deliberate. It appeared to be intentional. As she said, no link to terror. But when he got out and the police came up, he said, "Kill me, kill me." And he had his hand out with the cell phone. He was looking for perhaps suicide by cop.
Right. If you walk through Times Square, you can't do that anymore because there's these barriers there stopping any car from getting there. And Berlin, Barcelona, Nice, and New York City all have been hit by similar vehicle accidents, not accidents, for different reasons.
Experts that we've had on the show have said if you're worried about that and you do travel to a big city, stay as close to the buildings when you're walking on the sidewalk.
That's
sad
right.
that we're at this point.
No kidding. All right. Well, somebody traveled to the big city of Washington, D.C. yesterday. We're talking about French President Macron. There they are at Mount Vernon last night, Mr. Macron and his wife. By the way, on the menu last night at Mount Vernon, they had Dover sole, lemon curd, and asparagus.
Delicious.
By the way, in the main house, there's there's a room in Mount Vernon, the mansion, to the left. And I know they had to have gone there. You're not allowed to get in there. We're not allowed to get in there. But if you're the president of France and the president of the United States, you probably get in there.
Sure.
It's where George Washington and Lafayette laid out plans en route to the final Battle of Yorktown.
Really?
And Lafayette had an indispensable role, and that really built the friendship between our countries, obviously.
Okay.
And as chronicled in Hamilton, Rochambeau was also a key guy.
Yes.
So it was a great moment, and I remember Sarkozy said the first thing he did when he became president, he goes, I got to go to Mount Vernon. And he went to Mount Vernon to visit, and that just lays the groundwork, which is probably going to be a productive 2 days.
Yeah, we've had a great relationship with France since the revolution. These are two political newcomers. They have a lot of common interests. They respect one another, as Sarah Huckabee Sanders yesterday was saying. They're friends.
Sure.
And, you know, we've seen them. Our president went over to France for Bastille Day, for those 2 days in France. They do have some differences, and they're going to be talking. That's on the agenda.
Absolutely. Now, here's something important. Remember, it's been months ago, the President of the United States was complaining, hey, how come the United States is paying so much of the freight on NATO? And every country is supposed to pay at least 2%. That's a defense spending minimum. Well, as it turns out, Mr. Macron yesterday announced that they are going to go ahead and meet that 2% minimum, which means France, starting shortly, will start paying 35% more to NATO. And that is a direct result of the President of the United States lobbying him, saying, hey, look, come on, France, you were our partner with this Syria thing a week or two ago. How about some coughing up some more cash? Well, Mr. Macron, who's seen right there behind the president's desk in the Oval Room, said, okay. So they said, we will pay more going forward.
So they're finally doing the threshold. And I tell you what, President Bush, President Obama, the first President Bush, Ronald Reagan, they all said the same thing. I don't mind being the #1 guy at NATO, but I can't be the only guy at NATO. You have to send a message to the Russians, then Soviet Union, that you're going to spend for your own defense. And I think France is stepping up, and there's a lot of people pushback in that country. Now, the question is, what are we going to give in? When it comes to Syria, they want us to stay. When it comes to the Iranian deal, when it comes to trade, they want an exemption. When it comes to the Paris climate change, they want to know what it's going to take to get us back in. And when it comes to when it comes to Iran,
they want us to stay.
Right, but there might be a side deal. They said, listen, if we give you a side deal with Germany, would you stay in the Iranian deal for now as we try to make it better? Because we got until May 12th to stay or go.
This is the first state dinner that they have had in the White House since the president has taken office. And Melania, she's doing a lot of this behind the scenes by herself. She did the seating chart. There are 130 people that will be there tonight. She also came up with the menu that I understand is American cuisine with some hints of France.
I heard she's amazing with this organization. Everything from the color and size of the cushions, whittling the guest list down from 350 to 120, deciding that no press will come and only one Democrat will attend, which is going against tradition for the most part, and it's the governor of Louisiana.
All right, so we'll have highlights of that. In the meantime, you know, yesterday at this time, it did not look good for Mike Pompeo regarding the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. It didn't, because every Democrat and Rand Paul were going to vote against him, we presume. Well, as it turns out, the President of the United States called Rand a number of times, did some lobbying, got him, and he got some reassurances from Mr. Pompeo that he does agree with the president that Iraq was a mistake and got to get out of Afghanistan as quickly as possible. So then they started to have the vote, but they realized because Johnny Isaacson from Georgia was at a funeral, it would be a 10-10 tie. And that would not, then it wouldn't be a positive result. So, as it turns out, Chris Coons from Delaware, he voted present, and it did then advance to the full Senate.
Well, there's really no reason not to confirm. He's a West Point grad, Harvard grad, 3-term congressman. The president supports him. It just didn't make sense for them not to. It was very political.
Yeah.
Chairman of Foreign Relations, Bob Corker, was so moved that Chris Coons did that, bucked his party, and it shouldn't have come to that. But he's friends with Johnny Isaacson. They all are pretty much friends. And he says Johnny's giving the eulogy at his best friend's funeral.
Right.
Do we have to go back here at 11:30? Really? You know how he stands. Chris Coons says, listen, I'll handle it. I'm going to vote present. We're going to put it to the general floor, which means he's going to pass. Democrats who said they'll vote for him, Joe Manchin, Heidi Heitkamp, Joe Donnelly, all supporting him. On the fence is Chuck Schumer, Mark Warner, Angus King, Claire McCaskill. So he's going to have votes. Right. But the thing is, and you're right, Ainsley, of Alabama. Right. And look, we're used to getting 80 votes for a Secretary of State. But for some reason, it's just so partisan.
I was watching Fox and Friends first, and they had a full screen up, or we call it a full screen. They had a chart up of all the people that have been confirmed in the past for Secretary of State. Unbelievable. Colin Powell, 100-0. I mean, they
Unanimous.
supported whoever the president wanted. They supported Condoleezza Rice, 85-13, Hillary Clinton, 94-2, and John Kerry, 94-3.
Jillian, if we wanted to get that chart, how much would it cost us if we wanted that full screen? Because you're the one who made it.
I did not make any of that. I did that segment.
The headline is, I was watching you this morning.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
You did a great job.
Thank you.
If you could just tell us the full screen number, we'd like to use it next time.
I'm thinking like, I don't know, $500, call it a day.
You got it.
Sound good?
Fantastic.
Okay, good
It
talk.
covers your screen. It's the full screen.
The full screen. All right, let's get you caught up on some of the stories that we're following, starting with this. The suspected Waffle House killer under arrest. Police finding 29-year-old Travis Reinking in a wooded area near the restaurant. Reinking's guns were taken from him last year after he was arrested near the White House, but his dad reportedly gave them back. That includes the AR-15 that was used in the Waffle House shooting, which was eventually stopped by a hero customer. That man, James Shaw Jr., will join us live on Fox and Friends later this morning. Former President George H.W. Bush hospitalized in intensive care just days after wife Barbara's funeral. The 41st Commander-in-Chief was said to be brokenhearted over her death. A spokesman says he has a blood infection but is responding well to treatment, adding, quote, "The 41st president wants to go to Maine this summer. He's the most goal-oriented person on the planet, and I would not bet against him." The Senate delaying the confirmation hearing for VA Secretary nominee Ronnie Jackson. Lawmakers raising concerns over the White House doctor's qualifications and allegations of improper conduct. It's not clear if the hearing, originally set for tomorrow, will be rescheduled or postponed indefinitely. Jackson was picked to succeed David Shulkin, an Obama-era holdover fired by President Trump late last month. It's a boy, but we still don't know what to call the new royal baby. Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge haven't announced the little prince's name yet. The top three bets, Arthur, James, and Albert. But check out little sister Princess Charlotte stealing the show outside of the hospital with a smile and a royal wave. How cute. Mom Kate showing off the baby in a red dress similar to the one Princess Diana wore after Harry was born.
Is that by mistake, or is that just coincidental?
I think
to honor
that,
Harry, 'cause
yes.
he's getting married in a few weeks.
Do you guys have a bet on a name?
I'm thinking Andrew.
Andrew. Okay.
Very
Charles or Philip?
Okay.
I think Rocky.
Oh, Charles.
I think probably Rocky.
Rocky? Not used
Charles-
recently?
Right.
Apollo, maybe Apollo, like the dog.
Maybe my other dog.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jillian.
All right, thanks, Jillian. See if we can get us that full screen number. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead over the next 2 hours and 50 minutes. First, they wanted to disarm the police and our military. Now, one socialist group has a new target, the ROTC. Fantastic.
And dozens of businesses are giving workers bonuses thanks to the president's tax cut. But our next guest has uncovered a plot by the left to sabotage the economy. Former Labor Secretary nominee Andy Budzer here to explain. Andy, come on out. You're the next contestant.
Please come.
On Fox.
There he is.
We've got the greatest economy maybe ever, maybe in history. If we didn't win, this economy would be a wreck. They would have added more regulations. You wouldn't have 3 million jobs. You'd probably go negative. This country was headed in the wrong direction.
President Trump repeatedly touting the economic benefits of his tax cuts. But our next guest says the left, political left, is waging a war on profit and is trying to sabotage Trump's economic gains. Here with more, Andrew Puzder, Trump's former U.S. Labor Secretary nominee and the author of a brand new book, comes out today. It's called The Capitalist Comeback, The Trump Boom and the Left's Plot to Stop It. Andy, good morning to you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
All right, we're familiar with the boom. We know about all the bonuses and how people have more money in their pocket these days thanks to the tax cut. But how is the left trying to sabotage?
You know, there's really never been a president in American history who's faced such a concerted effort by the left and the media to discredit his economic accomplishments. I wrote the book so that President Trump's supporters would have the ammunition they need to fight back and also be able to share these underreported achievements that the president refers to, that we need to get the word out with respect to those, because we're in a very different situation than we were in say, when Ronald Reagan was president or George W. Bush was president. We've now got an opposition that's actually openly socialist. There's no longer, this isn't the party of John Kennedy anymore. It's now the party of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. So the Democratic Party really has been captured by this progressive socialist ideology, particularly young people. So it's a great book. If you have children or grandchildren and you want them to understand how free enterprise works, this is a great book, because they're not going to get it in school. So you got to get them a book.
Well, let's take a look at the Trump boom, and it's you talk about it in the book, but over on the big screen we've got some of the highlights, and you can see 3.1% gross domestic product growth over the first 3 quarters in office. The Congressional Budget Office predicts 3.3% growth in this year, and it looks like the fewest number of Americans on unemployment. These are all great numbers.
What you're really, one thing that kind of summarizes it all. You remember when you would interview me during the Obama administration, the big problem was people couldn't find good paying jobs.
Right.
So too many people were working part-time, too many people were unemployed. It was a terrible situation. Now you look at the unemployment numbers, the unemployment benefits, it's the lowest in 44 years when the population was much smaller. There are over 6 million job openings. The situation has changed so dramatically that we've gone from an economy where workers couldn't find employment to a situation now where the biggest problem facing us is employers can't find enough qualified workers to fill the job openings that exist. The economy, I'm surprised by that. I didn't realize or really accept the incredible resilience of capitalism in our American free enterprise system. And the book is about how that works and about how the left, is really, really out there to prevent this and to stop this president no matter what they have to do.
All right. The brand new book is called Capitalist Comeback. Andy Puzder, thank you very much.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
Thanks.
All right. Straight ahead, a retired Green Beret is slamming liberal identity politics, writing, "The left is wrong. I am a victim. I am a warrior, not a victim." His story next.
This program is brought to you by All Day, All Night.
No justice, no peace, no racist police.
We've got some quick headlines for you right now. First up, protesters flooding the streets after an Arizona Border Patrol agent was found not guilty of murder. Lonnie Schwartz shot through a border fence, killing a 16-year-old Mexican boy in 2016. He says he was protecting himself from a group of rock-throwing drug smugglers, and that is what happened. And Border Patrol agents nab 56 illegal immigrants from an alleged stash house. Homeland Security and police tipped off about suspicious activity at the home in Laredo, Texas. The men, women, and children from Guatemala, Mexico, and Honduras are now in the custody of ICE. All right, Brian, Ainsley?
All right, 25 minutes after the hour, a retired and wounded Green Beret taking on identity politics in this op-ed. Quote, "The left is wrong. I am a warrior, not a victim."
Retired Sergeant First Class Gregory A. Stubbe, and the author of Conquer Anything, joins us with his incredible story. Thank you so much for joining us. We are both familiar with your story. Most of the people watching are probably not. So tell us what happened to you in Afghanistan and what you've done fighting for this country.
Well, I spent 23 years active duty Army, and it's such an honor for me. But in Afghanistan, after so many years of service already, the unthinkable happened, and I was the one wounded. I had been a medical sergeant, so treating the wounds of others had been my primary role. But now it was me, and I got to feel what being a patient feels like.
Right, so you're a tough guy, you can take on any challenge, but all of a sudden your body's damaged, and you have a choice. Do you feel bad for yourself, or do you make what's left of you stronger? What decision did you make?
Well, I think at the time, the words wounded warrior came together, and I don't really like them coming together. I think you have to choose one. You're either wounded or you're a warrior, and I didn't want to betray the kind of honor that it took to raise my right hand and swear to serve in the first place. So if other people getting wounded still allowed it to be the right choice, it shouldn't change just because it's me. I volunteered, and I think that really keeps me from being a victim.
You wrote this amazing op-ed, "The left is wrong. I am a warrior, not a victim." Let me read a quote from this op-ed on FoxNews.com. "We shouldn't allow ourselves to be deceived by the left's identity politics. The left too often insists we behave as victims of the powerful, of our physical limitations, and more. We must instead define ourselves by what's inside us." Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, and I don't mean to be politically charged by any of this, but when I think about serving something greater than myself, it brings me to a place where I'm thinking of George Washington, who's on the Purple Heart. I think of John F. Kennedy, who said, Democrat, and he said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I'm still interested in what I can do for my country. And all I keep hearing from the left is what my country should do for me. But I want to get to work and save this thing, because we're facing perils even on our home front now. And warriors like me are crying a little bit inside, because what we fought to prevent on the home front is happening by and large around the world now, right at home.
All right, tell me about what your dad said. It was quite moving when he said to you, and what's in the short term and what's in the long term.
Well, Dad always told me where to find sympathy, and it was only in the dictionary for him. And sympathy, it can pay very well in the short run. And I experienced that as a wounded veteran in a grateful nation where everyone wants to pay you back for what you've done for them and their freedom. I feel bad for Vietnam veterans, and I want to say welcome home to them. Some of them haven't heard that yet. But we're a part of a grateful nation, and so my dad needed to tell me, sympathy can pay well in the short run, but it'll steal your soul from you if you adopt it as a principle. And it'll lower the common denominator of joy in any room.
It's all in your book, Conquer Anything. Great story. Thanks for sharing it, Gregory Stubbe.
I know that you're a father and you're a husband. Your wife, through tears, said she was so glad to get a phone call and not a knock on the door. And so are we. Thank you for writing this book, Conquer Anything, a Green Beret's Guide to Building Your A-Team. Sergeant First Class Stubbe, thank you for being with us, and thanks for fighting for our country.
Thank you. Such an honor.
All right. Coming up straight ahead, the professor who slammed Barbara Bush after her death still has a job, but the movement to fire her is gaining momentum. The details next.
Plus, more huge news for our economy. 14 states now have record low unemployment rates. Look at that map. Stuart Varney says this is just the beginning.
Right, and Stuart Varney, fully employed. But first, happy birthday to our friend Phil Robertson. The Duck Dynasty star is 72. His beard is 61.
Happy birthday, Phil.
If you're content with having a little, you're a blessed man.
Life is good, Cole, man. Life is real good.
HarperCollins was smart enough to sign Ainsley for her latest book. This is about her life. It's called The Light Within Me, meaning her. It's Ainsley Hurd. That's her on the cover. Good choice on the cover, by the way.
Thank you so much. HarperCollins came to me and they said, we know that you talk about your faith on air. You have this light within you. We would love to share that with the world. And so anyway, I am so honored and humbled to have this to share with you. This was last night. We had a book signing out in Steve's.
Is that Joe Torre?
It does. Yeah, you're right at first.
That was Walter from Bookends in Ridgewood, New Jersey. They had a big signing last night. A lot of folks from northern New Jersey. In fact, if you drop the banner, there's Ainsley right there. We're doing a selfie with the big crowd.
With Steve. Well, I think more people were excited to see Steve than they were me, because that's his neighborhood, and they were wonderful, and I really appreciate it. Please join us tonight in Brooklyn. We'll be in Bay Ridge at Bookshop at 7:30. Friday, Boiling Springs Baptist Church in South Carolina at 5:30. I'm doing the show down there at the University of South Carolina on Friday. Then I'll drive to Spartanburg, do the book signing, and then drive back to my hometown on Saturday. Okay. And that's Barnes & Noble at 2 o'clock in Columbia, South Carolina.
And you're going to your people with your story.
New Jersey on May 6th.
And Sunday, you're going to be in Northvale, New Jersey at Books and Greetings. So if you'd like to get a book and have greetings for Ainsley, you're going to be able to have your chance this week.
Dad's coming on the show. My dad and my daughter will be on the show a little later.
All right.
Right.
Meanwhile.
All right, so we'll find out more about that. Meanwhile, Stuart Varney's been waiting patiently here, knowing he missed the signing in New Jersey. You're the host of Varney and Company.
I did.
I'll sign it for you.
Thank you very much indeed, man. Thank you very much.
So, stunning numbers. 14 states.
Yes.
14 states are recorded record low, including one that was record high, Hawaii.
Yes.
Record low unemployment.
Record low, just over 2% in Hawaii. Extraordinary stuff. Look, this is more clear evidence that the Trump economy is a fully employed economy and expanding fast.
Just get these people back in the workforce,
too. Prosperity extends all across the board here, including to states which did not vote for Donald Trump. California, Oregon. Do you think they say thank you, Mr. Trump, for what he's done for the economy? I think not. But what we've got here is a fully employed economy. There are, let's see now, we have Maine, Nebraska, Idaho, Iowa, all with an unemployment rate below 3%.
That's
fantastic. Extraordinary. That's a record low. The problem is not new jobs. It's finding qualified workers to fill the positions that are currently available.
Are wages going up?
Wages are going up, but not fast enough. I think they'll go up much faster later this year as this labor shortage has to be filled by people moving from one job to another.
Well, Bernie Sanders wants the minimum wage to go up to at least $15 an hour, and he wants the federal government to guarantee everybody who wants a job should get one, and they'll be paid that.
It's called a vote-buying operation. That's what it is. $15 an hour, a government job with benefits guaranteed by the government.
Who pays for that?
I haven't a clue.
Same people that pay for free college.
I'm sure it will be tax the rich because the rich should be paying their fair share. In fact, the rich already pay the vast majority of taxes in this country. And I'm sure that Bernie Sanders will be saying a guaranteed job for all paid for by the rich.
Is that
it's
even
a
possible to do? Is it possible to even guarantee that there'll be jobs for everyone?
No.
It's like free college for
Frankly,
everyone?
it's not. I don't think it is. And can you imagine the vast bureaucracy which you will have to create to provide a government-guaranteed job for everyone? Another big bureaucracy. You'll never get rid of it. And do we need it? At a time when this economy is a fully employed economy, along comes Bernie Sanders and says, oh, $15 an hour plus benefits for any job that we will guarantee.
He's also talking about automatic, everybody gets $1,000 a month.
Is that in his deal?
That's a politician who's come up with universal pay.
And he was on my show yesterday. His name is Yang, and he wants $1,000 per month from the government to every single adult between the age of 18 and 64. He says it'll cost $2 trillion.
And you say that, too, is vote buying.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Okay.
Of course it is.
Stuart Varney, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thank you.
Got to put value in work, or else we're all screwed.
That's true.
Yes, thank you very much.
Varney and Company comes up between 9 and noon. I look forward to that.
And Ainsley's on the show this morning.
I am. I'm going to be on the show.
She is. 9:45.
Thank you.
Okay.
I love
so
coming
could
on
you
there.
say, I know you don't usually do this because it's all about you, Varney, but could you toss to Jillian?
Jillian, it's yours.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's how you do it, right there.
Oh, isn't he good?
Fabulous. Best toss ever. Good morning to you. Let's get caught up on some of the stories we're following. A young mother is killed when a wrong-way driver slams into her car head-on at full speed. The terrifying moments caught on camera. Oh, man, that's hard to watch. The car bursting into flames, sending debris flying into the air near Dallas, Texas. Several other cars also involved in the crash. Good Samaritans tried to save the 23-year-old Amberly McCrae. She leaves behind a 9-month-old son. The accused drunk driver, Guillermo Suarez, faces manslaughter charges. A petition to fire a Barbara Bush bashing professor is gaining steam. 14,000 people now calling for Rhonda Jarr's dismissal at Fresno State. She was scheduled to appear at an event over the weekend, but declined because of the controversy. Incredibly, when her name was mentioned, the crowd actually broke out into applause. Jarr tweeted about Bush's death last week, calling her an amazing racist. Student activists demanding a college ROTC program be shut down. Campus Reform spotting this poster from the Young Democrats Socialists of America at the City College of New York saying ROTC off our campus. It reads in part, quote, the absence of ROTC in SUNY prevents the military from taking full advantage of their large ethnically diverse populations. This is the same group that's also calling to disarm police and the military. Mitt Romney pulling out all the stops to get some votes in Utah, even taunting NBA MVP Russell Westbrook.
Russell coming back after the made Ingles 3, trying to find an angle.
You can read his lips. He's saying that's 4. The Senate candidate throwing up 4 fingers after Westbrook picked up a 4th foul during a playoff matchup between the Utah Jazz and Oklahoma City Thunder. Romney rocking a custom Jazz jersey courtside as his team took a 3-1 series lead. You know who also has a 3-1 series lead?
Philadelphia.
Yes.
By the way.
Hello.
By the way, I think Mitt Romney went to the gift shop after. I don't think you leave the house wearing the tank top over the jean shirt. Am I correct?
It was personalized. I think it had his name.
Oh, really?
I love the heckling. I think that's pretty funny.
Right.
All right.
That's very un-Romney-like.
I know, right?
There you go. But he's running for something. All right. She's number one. She's Dan the Team. She's got the record.
That's so nice. No heckling. Let's take a look at the maps right now. Current temperatures 47 in New York. We're getting there. It feels like springtime finally across the Northeast, but we're going to deal with a few showers across the Northeast overnight tonight into tomorrow. That could bring kind of a wet, soggy commute tomorrow morning. And then we're also dealing with a storm system across the plains. It's going to bring kind of a mix of rain and a little bit of snow. It's almost over.
What?
I know. Just a little bit of snow. Sorry, that's my microphone making that noise with all my hair. Pull my hair back. Okay, there you go, Toba. See what happens sometimes when we run our microphones? If we have long hair, it makes noise. I'm sorry, Toba. Forecast temperatures right there, 53, 54 in New York. We'll take it. A little bit of rain in the forecast, but you know what? It's springtime here in New York.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, even though there is a possibility of snow.
Beautiful day yesterday.
Right.
Why didn't you just lead with that?
The springtime in New York.
Because you got to end.
You got to be prepared.
Right.
You got to wear the right clothes.
Just be careful of microphones and long hair.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
That's your advice of the day.
That's why Brian doesn't grow his out.
Exactly. All right, 19 minutes before the top of the hour. First, he said he loved the way Candace Owens thinks. Now it looks like Kanye West is a fan of President Trump.
I do love Donald Trump. Kanye West. Quote, I love Donald Trump.
What about Candace Owens? What does she think about what Kanye thinks about, he thinks about Donald Trump? We'll ask.
I'm confused about that.
So much.
Plus, the House Intel chair says the Russia collusion probe is not based on any official intel. Does that mean the investigation is tainted and political? All rise. We're going to ask the judge that. He's next on Fox and Friends.
Hey, Judge.
We've long wanted to know, well, what intelligence did you have that actually led to this investigation? What we found now, after the investigators had reviewed it, is that, in fact, there was no intelligence.
Wow.
No intelligence. Bombshell from Mr. Nunes. What does this mean for the collusion investigation?
Here with Inside Fox News senior judicial analyst and Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, what exactly didn't he find? What does he mean, no intelligence?
Right, this is why it's a little troublesome.
They weren't blank pages.
No, they weren't blank pages. We don't know what's there. Congressman Nunes, as the chair of the House Select Committee on Intelligence, enjoys the highest security clearance, same security clearance as the head of the CIA or the president or the head of the FBI, gets to see everything. When he looks at top secret raw intelligence data and selectively picks it, cherry picks it for a political narrative, I think that's dangerous, because that's going to induce his opposite number, Congressman Adam Schiff, the ranking minority member of the committee, to do the same thing. They're both going to look at the same raw intelligence data. One's going to say there's no there. The other's going to say, aha, there are 3 or 4 things there. But think about it this way. This is an active criminal investigation. I have to think the case against the president is bogus, but they're still pursuing it. But there are legitimate indictments in there, like of the 13 Russians who were indicted for interfering with the election. They're never going to come here to stand trial, but the Congress and the president did sanction them, and some of those sanctions are pretty serious. So you can't say the whole thing is bogus. That's the impression Congressman Nunes gives. I think it's wrong for them to look at intelligence and cherry pick.
It looks like when you think, okay, there was no intel, so it was like I know Victoria Tenzing has sent this on the channel in the past, but it looks like a brazen plot simply to frame the president of the United States.
Yes, it does, and it looks like it was commenced by his most virulent political enemies, particularly Sid Blumenthal, who's sort of the fixer, if you will, for Hillary Clinton and that branch of the Democratic Party. There's no question but that the Democrats are behind a lot of this. There's also no question but that Mueller's grand juries have indicted people for crimes that they believe, Mueller's people believe, they can convict them of, whether it's money laundering or whether it's Russian interference with the election. I don't think this has gotten anywhere near the president, and I don't think it will. But in the old days, by which I mean before Mrs. Clinton got off the hook, If Congress wanted raw data from a criminal investigation in the middle of the investigation, the DOJ would say, go take a hike.
Sure.
Congress would serve a subpoena. The DOJ would take the subpoena to a federal judge who'd quash the subpoena. You cannot interfere with a criminal investigation midstream. You'll tip off the potential defendants and you'll scare off witnesses and you'll frustrate investigators. That's what's going on here.
Thank you, Judge.
How this ends, Ryan?
Will it ever end? Will it end? That's the question.
Listen, we learned last week they were listening to the president's phone calls while he was talking to his lawyer.
And Rudy said he'd like to have it done in 2 weeks. Judge, thank you very much.
All the best.
All right, straight ahead. Next hour, the hero who disarmed the gunman at the Waffle House and saved many lives. He will join us live.
Plus, Candace Owens broke the internet, getting star support from Kanye West after her message for Black Lives Matter. Now both of them are facing backlash from the left. Candace is here to respond. Next.
Activist Candace Owens calling out Black Lives Matter protesters who look to disarm her. They caught the attention of rap megastar Kanye West, who said he loves the way Candace thinks, and since his tweet, both he and Owens have received major blowback. Here with more on how she's responding to those attacks is Communications Director for Turning Point herself, Candace Owens. Candace, first off, when did you actually respond to that heckler? When was it posted? And when did Kanye West get involved?
So this was just last Friday, so all of this has transpired pretty quickly, and then his tweet went out, I believe, on Saturday, and it's been an absolute firestorm since.
And when Kanye West said, I like the way you think, when you looked at it, did you think, oh, that can't possibly be him?
Somebody actually sent it to me in a text, and I thought they were pranking me because I've spoken about Kanye West so much. Early on in my career here, I've said that he's the only person that is in hip-hop or that has a public stage that is willing to think independently. So I was just surprised.
What do you think about your message that he saw, Kanye West saw, that appeals to him, that he goes, yeah, I'm with her on that?
I do not subscribe to groupthink. I think independently. I'm a free thinker, and I don't believe that because I have a certain skin tone that I absolutely have to subscribe to all of these ideas, which on paper do not make any sense whatsoever.
Once I read what Kanye tweeted, I thought, I wonder, since he's getting backlash, if he regrets that. But then Ebro Darden from Hot 97, the hip-hop DJ, famous DJ, he talked to Kanye, and this is what he said Kanye said. He doubled down basically on Trump. Listen.
He said, I do love Donald Trump. Kanye West, quote, I love Donald Trump.
That's what I was going to ask you. People are saying that he's been saying he loves Donald Trump.
Yes.
And he said it.
I love Donald Trump.
Candace, why is that so shocking?
It's not shocking whatsoever to me. If you've been following Kanye West's career, Kanye West has always been an outlier in terms of having his own mind and thinking his own thoughts. They told Kanye that he couldn't be in fashion, so he created an entire brand. They told Kanye that he couldn't like Kim, so he married her. Okay, so this is no surprise whatsoever. This is who Kanye West is fundamentally, a free thinker.
You know, he's the same guy who said George Bush doesn't like black people at a telethon for victims of Katrina.
Yes, absolutely. And I hear people saying that all the time, as if people are not allowed to evolve and have their ideas evolve over time. And I hate that. That's exactly the idea that the left has, is that once you say something, you must always stick to it.
Never
you
took
can't
it back.
form your opinions over time. Right. And I understand that, but that's something that I was 2 years ago a liberal.
Right.
So is that how we work now on the right? That we say that if you have a certain idea, you can never evolve away from it with time. So I think that's a ridiculous offense that they keep launching towards him.
Sure. Candace, excellent question. What have you learned about speaking out at UCLA, the firestorm that ensued, and Kanye backing you?
I've learned that the left would like their slaves back. They've created a system where black people are ideological slaves, and we tested this theory very quickly. He simply said 7 words, I like the way Candace Owens thinks, and this became a front news story across every single platform that you could possibly dream of, and that is only because he is not allowed to think differently as a black man.
All right. Candace, we thank you very much for coming on live and telling us your story.
Candace, stay strong. I know this has been a difficult week for you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys so much.
You bet.
All right, coming up straight ahead over the next 2 hours, it's going to be easy to interview Senator Cory Gardner, talk about foreign relations, and Mike Pompeo. Ian Bremmer is going to be here live, a deep thinking book. Dr. Oz saves people from burning buses. Anthony Scaramucci would have if he had been there.
My time is thin, but so is my lawn.